Okay. From 1700s to now, the average global temperature change is only about 1 degree Fahrenheit. Now, this may not seem like a significant difference to you, but consider this. That the average global temperature change from modern times to the last previous ice age was only about 9 degrees Fahrenheit. So 1 degree is a significant difference. And through recent years, the evidence has been shown what a 1 degree temperature increase can do. This past summer alone was the hottest recorded summer ever on record in the United States. And during the years of 2011, there has been 14 separate weather disasters that have occurred, each costing the U.S. economy over $1 billion. Like, for example, Hurricane Irene, which costed the lives of 45 people, costed the economy around $7.2 billion. And the total U.S. claims for 2011 were roughly $55 billion, which is roughly equivalent to the total fund of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And also in 2011, State Farm Insurance canceled their insurance coverages for more than 11,000 homeowners in Texas due to the fact of these extreme weather conditions. So in this speech, I will argue that you should support for President Obama's cap and trade policy. First, I will argue that greenhouse gases are real and it's a serious threat to our environment and our lives. Second, I will argue that President Obama's cap and trade policy is the solution to prevent further greenhouse gas emissions to increase. And lastly, I will argue that this cap and trade policy will in fact increase the economy. Now, Dr. Sven Arrhenius, a Nobel Prize-winning chemist, first came up with the idea of global warming in 1896. And he concluded that the carbon dioxide levels emitted from burning of fossil fuels and coals resulted in the levels of carbon dioxide gases to increase, which then in turn makes our planet warmer. Now, it took 106 years for our government to actually recognize the dangerous effects of greenhouse gases, because it was only 3 years ago that they declared that greenhouse gases were a legitimate threat to our environment. Something has to be done. And so one of the big evidences of what global warming can do is extreme temperatures and extreme weather conditions. Now, according to the World Meteorological Organization, this past decade alone was the hottest decade ever recorded in the United States, with 8 of the last 10 years being the hottest ever. And as the planet gets warmer, it causes our climates to change, but it changes the severity and the extremity, and not only does it make our planet a lot warmer, but also makes it wilder. Like, for example, when the increases in temperatures causes increases in evaporation, which then creates more clouds to hold more moisture and creates more extreme downpours, which then creates wilder storm conditions. Like, case in point, in last October alone, Hurricane Sandy took the lives of over 190 people and wreaked havoc across the whole Atlantic seaboard. And once Hurricane Sandy passed, a blizzard came, and which caused 6 days to be covered, blanketed in snow, a foot of snow. And 7 years before that, Hurricane Katrina took the lives of over 200,000 citizens in the New Orleans area, and costing roughly around $125 billion in damages. So the threat is real, and something has to be done to prevent this. And Obama's cap and trade policy is the most environmentally and economically approach we can take to further decrease the levels of greenhouse gases. Now the cap sets a limit on emissions, which is further reduced over time, and then it reduces and will eventually reduce the levels of greenhouse gases, and then the trade creates an open market for carbon allowances, which then gives an incentive for businesses to find innovative ways to reduce the energy costs now. So pretty much the less they emit, the less they pay. So this also promotes companies to find innovative ways to search for alternative energy sources and cleaner ones as well. Now, not only will this cap and trade will reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but it will also will also clean our nation's air as well, because as governments, individuals, and businesses further reduce levels of greenhouse gases, simultaneously they will also reduce other pollutants as well. And then the money raised from the cap and trade policy will further go into other fundings to help promote clean energy use. For example, a few weeks ago, California had their very first cap and trade auction, and they raised around $234 million, and that funding went straight to other alternative clean energy funding research. And third, I will argue that the economy can increase with this cap and trade policy by switching to homegrown energy. By switching to homegrown energy sources and energy efficiency, this will create more jobs here in the nation, and we were able to rely less upon imported energy. So this pretty much means that the money and jobs will stay in the nation. And according to the EDF, the energy that we invest here in the United States will reduce the cost of foreign energy that we import by 75 million barrels a year. And economist Tracy Shario stated that by implementing this cap and trade policy, we will have an advantage towards the global clean energy race. That is the market of goods and services that has already reached over $234 billion. And for small businesses won't be regulated by this policy, and in fact will not see a significant increase in their operating costs. In fact, sole proprietorships spend just about 3.3% of their electricity, and businesses with over 500 employees spend just 0.3%. Okay, and so in this speech, I argued that you should support Obama's cap and trade policy. First, I argued that greenhouse gases are a real threat. Second, I argued that a cap and trade policy will decrease the levels of greenhouse gases. Third, I argued that the economy can increase with this policy. Now that you heard my arguments, I hope I persuaded you enough to support wellness, tank, and trade policy. Thank you.